What began as a seemingly innocuous royal tour advocating progressive gender equity initiatives exploded into a catastrophic international debacle after Colombia's President Gustavo Petro made the seismic decision expelling Meghan Markle from the country. The newly elected socialist leader announced the shocking decree during an emergency television address, citing the Duchess of Sussex's unconscionable remarks denigrating Colombian peoples through offensive stereotyping and tone-deaf insensitivity. My nation's generous hospitality welcoming this once respected humanitarian represented pluralistic commitments towards bridging societal divides alongside the international community, Petro solemnly declared, surrounded by his cabinet. However, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex's recent racial cultural insults levied against beautiful indigenous Colombian identities crossed indelible red lines deserving instantaneous decisive action. At the heart of this rapidly escalating geopolitical fracas involved controversial excerpts from a Women's Day speech Meghan delivered at an Archwell Foundation luncheon event in Bogotá earlier that week intended championing female empowerment throughout marginalized rural populations. Mid-presentation, the Duchess began spouting eyebrow-raising rhetoric perpetuating antiquated stereotypes regarding Colombian criminalities, frequently repurposed promoting drug cartel violence imagery across Hollywood entertainment franchises. My heart breaks for the innumerable young women throughout these sun-drenched valleys where opportunities remain tragically circumscribed by patriarchal authoritarianisms, Meghan lamented from the stage awash in colorful indigenous textiles. Whether plagued by degenerative coca economies fueling narco-trafficking insurgencies, or widespread domestic abuse suffered under alcoholic charros brutalized after descending into Medellin's seedy vice district cantinas, such cycles perpetuating generational disadvantages strangling civilized progressions must cease. While the Duchess's speech did advocate empowering socio-economic reforms, investing into educational projects, expanding rural entrepreneurship ecosystems, many attendees immediately bristled over the tactlessly outmoded Latin American stereotypes evoking antiquated cinematic portrayals associated with Scarface or Netflix's Narcos. Some indigenous community leaders quickly staged walkouts while diplomatic staffers scrambled, minimizing blowback from Meghan's inflammatory remarks distracting from Archwell's charitable mission. I've never witnessed such a textbook exhibition of unchecked white saviorism undermining its own advocacy efforts through casual bigoted microaggressions, regurgitating Hollywood-manufactured Colombian tropes concerning corruption, drug smuggling, and machismo misogyny, fumed activist Adriana Suarez in a series of furious social media posts decrying Meghan's ham-fisted insult fest. Her speech pathologized indigenous subsistence farmers while shaming urban working classes confronting economic deprivations, all delivered through the whitewashed optic patronizingly pitying our ancestral civilizations from her million-dollar colonial ivory tower. Despite repeated attempts initiating damage control measures from Buckingham Palace's crisis communications teams, the diplomatic gaffes cascaded into an existential catastrophe following even more controversial remarks uttered during impromptu media interviews immediately after Meghan's disastrous luncheon speech. While being pressed whether she regretted the insensitive cultural generalizations, the Duchess immediately pivoted, doubling down by invoking more cringe racial caricaturing that somehow superseded her earlier misstatements. My Spanish linguistic capabilities aren't precisely academic caliber conversational, enabling me towards expressing more nuanced sentiments, the Duchess admitted clumsily while gesticulating expansively in a bizarre faux Latina effect. So while I may have sounded somewhat harsh towards mis amigas colombianas, those strong fierce caliente mujeres needn't assume my earnest corazón contained venom militia contra su noble gente. We remain hardened hermanos within the misma lucha against systemic socio-economic injusticias. Footage capturing Meghan's escalatingly tone-deaf performative blunders immediately went viral across South American digital spheres, igniting transnational backlashes, fuming over her casual contempt mimicking the spicy Latina caricature weaponized by Hollywood towards objectifying hypersexualized Colombian Mexican feminine archetypes. Colombian diplomats representing President Petro summoned Buckingham Palace officials demanding explanations amidst swelling nationwide outrage denouncing the Duchess's antics representing neo-colonial racism stemming from grotesque privileged ignorance. Even the Commonwealth Secretary-General appeared forced, weighing issuing reprimands regarding the public relations nightmare amidst the British Crown's ongoing efforts championing decolonization initiatives rebuilding shared dignities across former imperial territories. This entire incendiary episode remains highly fluid as Whitehall facilitates dialogues navigating intensive damage control measures alongside the Colombian government, a senior Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office spokesperson tersely stated hours before Petro's explosive ultimatum banishing Meghan. All options currently remain on the table, including considering issuing formal diplomatic apologies from the Crown should missteps prove irreparably compromising future national healing and goodwill restoration objectives towards President Petro's administration. Ultimately, however, the Colombian leader displayed remarkably minced patience when delivering thundering remarks excoriating Meghan's intolerable, neo-colonial conquista mindsets, which immediately resulted in the Duchess's unceremonious expulsion back across the Atlantic. During his primetime speech, Petro unloaded upon Britain's enduring imperial mindsets underpinning the Commonwealth's antiquated institutional constructs, enabling pampered aristocrats disrespecting third world nations under auspices humanitarian tourism stuntery. From the earliest historiographies arising amid the colonial raping of the Americas, Spanish conquistadors systematically dehumanized indigenous civilizations through similar plundered commodification ethos Meghan echoed today. The fundamental sin disrespecting human diversities defining our ethnic bastions, Petro seethed with righteous fury while flanked by Colombian honor guards. So while Britain's crown nostalgically sentimentalizes Commonwealth romanticisms, they produce privileged narcissists perpetuating racist cultural appropriations disregarding sovereign South American nations' progress emancipating from generational neo-colonial abuses. The socialist leader reserved his harshest criticisms towards the Duchess's flagrant lack of self-awareness replicating imperial oppressions ostensibly being condemned, specifically, her feckless insensitivity distracting from intended gender equity advocacies benefiting lower-class Colombians. He then shockingly concluded the speech declaring Meghan persona non grata, effective immediately.